Okay, so looks like we are live. Great. I can see a lot of people have joined, even if there is IPL match going on, the IPL final, and there was a point when we thought, hey, can we just put the cricket here, the cricket match live, and so that you can watch both. Um, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, cool. So let's get started with the session. So today we are going to talk about the new features in Java. So basically, you know what happened. When you talk about Java as a language, it came in 1995. Oh, sorry, I can hear my voice. Sorry. So yeah, so it came in 1995, right? And then after the launch, Java got very famous. It's not common with most of the languages. Normally, when the language comes, it takes some time for a language to get famous among the market, and then Java was on go. The moment it was launched, everyone started using it. Now, imagine a language being created in 1995. Of course, it will have those features which is there at that point. And again, big fan of Java, but I can say the moment you have something famous, you don't try to change much about it, right? The languages which are struggling, they try to adapt to new things, they try different stuff. But then with Java, somewhere there was a point when Java was not updating itself the way it should have been compared to the other languages. So we got updates like we got Java 2, Java 5 was a major update. Then we got Java 7. In fact, I started my career when Java 7 was there, or Java 5. Java 7 was there, right? And then we got one of the major update was Java 8. In fact, there was a point for Java where uh, Java developers were thinking, hey, can we just switch to other languages? Because I remember in 2000, early 14, so in January somewhere, I was thinking, enough of Java. I have worked in Java for 4 years. And now, so I started my career in 2010, right? So it was 4 years for me. I thought I'm done with Java. Now let me explore new languages. And that's where I started to move towards Scala because it was providing some amazing features. The functional programming was there in Scala. So I started focusing on Scala. And then something happened. In 2014, Java 8 got launched. And in Java 8, it supported functional programming. It got so many features where the people who were going away from Java came back to Java. And I think they did that at the right time. It could have delayed by 1 or 2 years. Um, so it could have gone in a different way. And then after a few years, we got Java 9. Now, at this point, Oracle also did one mistake. So when Java was getting famous, it was a part of Sun Microsystem. And then Oracle wanted to get those infrastructure, get the language, get the OS. So what Oracle did is they bought Sun Microsystem. And by buying Sun Microsystem, I'm not sure what happened internally and then what was the discussion, but then they thought, okay, Java is everywhere. Let's make it commercial. So they started the licensing, the paid licensing for Java. I think that was a biggest mistake for Oracle. I'm not sure. I'm not a business person. I mean, I am into edtech, but not a person who can take this type of decisions. But for me, it was, I think, a wrong decision in terms of a language. But then thanks to open source, thanks to OpenJDK, a lot of companies were using OpenJDK. The only problem is with OpenJDK, you don't get the support. With Oracle, you do get that. And if you want the support with OpenJDK, then you have to pay to different companies who will do the support for you. And then we got Java 9. And then there was a new cycle. So there was a new cadence for releases. Initially, the release was 2 to 3 years. So every time, every Java release used to take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And then the Java team, Oracle, decided to, instead of doing a release in every 3 to 4 years, let's do it in every 6 months. Now, it's not like you are getting huge amount of updates in every 6 months. It's just that whatever updates you are getting in 2 to 3 years, you will divide those into multiple sections and release it. See, with every new features, there are two issues. Let's say in Java 9, you got few features, right? Or maybe Java 8 per se. In Java 8, we got so many features. The only features we remember is Stream API, right? Lambda expression. Apart from it, we don't even realize what are the features are there in Java 8. To be honest, even I can't recall the names, right? Because that's what happens. Whenever you have a new update, you only focus on one or two things, and then the other updates, other features, they just stays there in the JDK, but no one is using it. Now, so what they did is, in fact, that was the one problem. We were not using all the features. The second one is, don't you think every new feature should be coming as a preview first? What if some people want to test it? Because every time you get a new feature, you find some bugs with it, you find some problems with it. And then it is responsibility of a Java team to solve it, right? Get a better part of it in the next release. But what if they do the release in the first iteration itself? Now what happens is when you launch something in the first iteration, it might be used in the production environment. And at that point, you don't want to change it. Yeah. So those are two things which even they thought, I guess. And then what happens with 6 months is you don't get a lot of features. You get a limited set of features. Now, few features are language specifics and few features are specific to the performance of a system, or internally they change something. Okay. So in every new release, you get few features, and then as a developer, you can focus only on those features. Okay, now let me just put a disclaimer or something which happened. In 2018, again, there was a point when I thought, hey, let's go away from Java. I was focusing on blockchain mode. And then I was not doing much on Java. I was doing some projects here, there, some demo projects and experimenting something, but I was not fully into Java. Now, in those 2 years, okay, so maybe 1 year, but just after the COVID, yeah, so 2018, 19, 20, I can say 3 years. In those 3 years, I was away from Java. And then when I came back to Java, it was shocking because in those 3 years, they have released 6 versions. And I was like, okay, I wanted to come back to Java, but unfortunately I can't because there have been 6 updates. And I don't know, how do you write Java code now? That was my thinking. I don't know how many of you felt it, but once you come back to a particular language after so many updates, you don't feel confident about it. It took me around a month or 2 to get used to it again. And again, at this point, I'm back to my 2018 zone. I love Java. I'm still into it. But with these updates, you get minor updates, right? So what I did in those 2 months is I practiced my old concepts, and then I watched my own videos. That's the advantage of having your own videos on YouTube. You don't have to, it's like my notes, sometimes I make videos and then, example for corporate training, there are certain concepts which I was supposed to know. Example, in one of the company, I talk about Scrum, and that's the only training where I talk about Scrum. And then I'm doing this from last 6 years now. I'm talking about Scrum, Agile and all those stuff. Now, since I'm doing it only once in a year, what if I want to revise what is Scrum and what are different things are there? I made the video. Every time I have to take a training, I just watch my own video. So it's like a notes for me. So I have watched my own videos on Java. I got to know different features which are coming up. And yeah, so it actually made sense to have a release in every 6 months now. Now, in this particular session, what is our focus? The focus is to see the features which came after Java 10, because we have talked about Java 8. In Java 9 also there were some features, but mostly it was towards this system, how things are changing internally. There was a module concept, but then I thought just to keep it easy, let's take it from Java 10 to Java 21. Now in this 11 versions, can I say 11 version? Yeah. So Java 21 is not released yet, okay? So we have still Java 20. Java 21 will be coming in September, but then I will show you some features. In fact, I have recorded the video as well today, which will be released tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, you will see the output as well, because today, the machine which I'm using, it is not having 21, because that's my main machine. I don't want to experiment something on this machine which I'm using for live. On my laptop, I did some experiment and Java 21 was working. So you will get the video tomorrow, but I will talk about those concepts. So in this 11 versions, we'll pick up some important changes to the language as a syntactical changes, okay, not the performance changes. What happened behind the scene, will not talk about those things, but yeah, syntactically. Now the focus is this. This is what we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about these things. We'll talk about the switch expression in Java, because I know when you start learning Java, the first thing you do is you learn the basic syntax, you move to variables, and then once you complete all those operators, you move towards if, and then you move towards ternary operator and switch. And when you reach switch, there is one little problem with switch. Anyone, can you guess what is the problem which I'm thinking about? What's the one thing you hate in switch? Okay. Come on, come on, come on. Hush. Okay, so the one thing which most of us hate, I'm not sure if you hate it, but that is break, right? No one loves break in Switch. So we'll try to see how do we solve that problem. Then we'll talk about var as a keyword. So instead of using int I, can we use var I? In fact, if you're coming from most of the languages, we have this concept of var. Then we'll move towards seal classes, then record classes, test block. This is interesting because this came in Java 15. Now, when you're learning a language, this is not something which you use, but then when you work with JSON data or HTML data in your particular code, this makes sense. And then we'll talk about string template. Now, string template came in Java 21. It is coming in Java 21. So we'll see how that works. And that's the complete agenda. And I think we can get started. But before we start, I just want to take a break of 2 minutes because I don't have a water with me. I forgot to bring water. So let's take a break of 2 minutes. I have spoken enough for 12 minutes now. So let's take a small break of 2 minutes and then we'll continue. Okay, I'm back. So let's continue with the thing. So we are talking about the switch expression first, right? Now to understand switch, what we will do is, so to understand switch, what we will do is this. So let's understand how do we write a switch statement. So I will do it very quickly because we don't have much time to talk about what is switch. So let's talk about switch. So let's say I have a string here, and then this string is let's say day, and then again I'm taking a simple example. Let's say Saturday. In fact, I've taken the same example in the video, and I think it makes much more sense, right? So let's say I want to set an alarm for a particular day. So if it is Saturday and Sunday, I get up early. Normally, for the other people, the things are different, right? So when they get up early, when it is weekdays, because they have to go to work or go to college. For me, since I'm taking live sessions and other stuff as well, Saturday I have to get up early. Saturday and Sunday I get up at 6. Okay, and then so the alarm should be at 6. On the Wednesday, I take a day off, let's say, and so Wednesday I want to wake up at 8, and on normal days I wake up at 7. Now, okay, so disclaimer: this is not my actual. Yeah, so that's not actually I do. I don't wake up different time and different days, but just for the example. And that you should not be doing that. You should wake up every day at the same time, even if it is a weekend, so that you are in a momentum. Otherwise, you will feel lazy on Monday, right? So, again, just a life tip. So wake up every day at the same time, but take enough sleep. Try to sleep early at the night. That perfectly works. Okay, that was a tip for you as well, Harsh. Oh, okay, so you can rewatch the session. Okay, so Harsh and I, we always have this debate of. So normally Harsh says on weekend he usually get up at 11, is it? Yeah, but I normally say get up at the same time, even if you're taking a day off. Anyway, so let's say I want to set the alarm here. So what you can do is you can do a switch, and then in this switch you can pass this day. And the weird thing is, when switch came into existing in Java, it was not supporting string. It was only supporting integer. But now it supports string as well. So let's pass a day. And then what you do is you write cases, right? So you say case, then you try to match. So basically you use something called a case matching. So you use the text or the literals directly. So you say, okay, is it a Saturday? And you can give a comma as well. And if it is a Sunday, so if it is any of these 2 days, I want to wake up. So that's my case. I want to wake up. I can print here. And instead of printing, let me directly use a result. So I will say string time equal to, so it will have a time. So whatever, depending upon day, it should set a time. So I can say time for that particular day is 6 a.m. They are your fans now, Harsh. Okay. Case, if it is okay, Wednesday, then I have to wake up at 8. And then if it is any other day, default time is 7 a.m. right? So this is a basic thing we can do here, right? Why it is giving problem in Saturday? Switch label sat is the only reachable in the whole code. Okay, it's because it is sat. Okay, doesn't matter. So basically, you can see we got Saturday here. Just a second. Okay, so basically you can see we got Saturday and things works, right? So tell me, if I print here s out, and if I print the time for this day, what will be the output? Okay, so let's run this code and see what happens. So you can see even on Saturday it says 7 a.m. So what went wrong here? So that's not the problem. Okay, so you can see it says 7 a.m. So what's the problem? So basically, it is matching the case, which is Saturday, and then it is setting the time as 6 a.m. But since we have not assigned break there, what it does is it fall throughs, right? So if you want to stop, I mean, that's how basically switch works. You have to put a break if the case matches. If you want to break, I mean, if you want to come out from the switch, you have to use break. And now when you use break, then it should work properly. You can say 6 a.m. But let's say if I say this is a Monday, then it will say 7 a.m., right? So that's how it works. So the problem is you need to put a break here. That's the problem which I see, right? Now, if you don't want to put a break, now this is the new update which you got in Switch. What it supports now is it supports something called a arrow, a lambda, basically. So what I can do is, instead of using break, what we can do is just remove break. Instead of using a colon, you should be using a arrow. That's it. This will solve the problem. You don't need to put a break there. Okay, so which is better, using a colon, break, or using an arrow? And the beauty is you can write in one line. That looks cool, right? So if it is Saturday, Sunday, that's the time. And also, if you are using a arrow, then you cannot use colon. So either use colon for the entire switch or you use arrow in the entire switch. So let me use an arrow here as well. And when we use arrow, you don't use break. So let me remove that. Same goes for default. Even here, I will put an arrow and write that in one line. Now this solves two problems. One, it solves the problem of break. And second, it makes your switch more readable. See, I know a lot of people who have worked on Java for a long time, they might not agree to this point that this is more readable. But think about people who are new to Java and they're not even looking at the old syntax. For them, this is a syntax and they will be very happy. But unfortunately, you have to also understand the old syntax, because most of the projects, you're not sure, are they using the break one concept or this one? Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is something you can do. And then we have, okay, this is one thing you do. Now, don't you think, if this is something which is amazing, let me make it much better. I mean, think about what we are doing. We are saying if this is the case is this, set the time to 6 a.m. If this is the case, set the time to 8 a.m. If this is a time, then set the time to 7 a.m. In all this, we are doing the same operation, right? We are doing time, we are using this variable time multiple times. And that's why they thought, hey, instead of using this switch statement, can I use a expression? Now, what's the difference between a statement and an expression? Statement does its job. So basically, the moment you say statement, it will complete the work, job done. The expression, on the other hand, it works and then it returns something. So expression, with every time you hear this word expression, it means it is returning something. It's performing the operation, it is returning something. So what you can do is, you can return, instead of setting time here, you can simply say 6. Your job is done, right? Say 6. But you can see we are getting error. The only thing you have to do is, you have to accept the time. So now what we are doing is, we are, okay, what's wrong? So you can see what we are doing. We are saying that we are running a switch. If it is 6 a.m., assign this value to time directly. If it is 8 a.m., assign the value. Now this is called a switch expression. So earlier we were using switch statement, but now we are using switch expression. And since it's an expression, you have to put a semicolon at the end. So in the statements, you don't put semicolon. In the expressions, you put a semicolon. Does it make sense? Java people care more about new Java learners than the habituated users. It's not like they are only motivating new learners. In fact, they want to try to make Java as an easy language again. But then somewhere the language has to upgrade, right? And then even if you are master in Java, you need to keep upgrading yourself. You can't stop at one point. Okay, we should use Java syntax run by Java 8. because most of the machines are using Java 8 by default. See, that was true few months back, a few, I guess last year. Now, most of the companies are using uh, Java 11, okay, and they are also upgrading to Java 17 now. Okay, at least someone says it's a new concept for them. That's cool. Yeah, that was the agenda of this type of sessions, right? To show you something new. It's not like I have not made the videos on them. The videos are already available. But then you might. But what if you have missed it? That's why this type of things makes more sense, right? Going live. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So so this is your switch expression, right? We in fact we have one more keyword here. So let's say, and again, Java community wants to give you something, but then they add a lot of things to it. Um, so let's say if I don't want to use arrow, so I want to use a switch expression, but I don't want to use arrow. I want to stick to colon. Then what's the solution here? So let's say I want to use switch expression, but without using arrow. I want to use colon. Will this work? You can see we got the error there because the switch expression by default works with arrow. But if you want to use colon, what you can do is you can use a keyword called yield. Now, when we say yield, it means that whatever value you have here, just give it out of the expression, okay? Written from the expression. And this looks much better than break, right? At least a positive word. Hush. The Yogi tablets. Okay, this is which version? I'm not sure in which version Switch was introduced. If anyone in the chat knows in which versions Switch was introduced. So I'm taking my Ayurvedic medicines for cough. Okay, can we use Java in machine learning? Can we come? Yeah, in fact, there are projects which are running on Java in machine learning. Okay, Alfred says, watching from USA, most projects are here in Java 11. Oh, that's great. No, I guess, no, it's not in Java A 1.8. Switch, I think it came later. I think you can Google it. That's right, Yogi Kantika. You know all the names. Okay, cool. So what we can do now is let's move to the next one, which is what was the next one? There's one Sublime. It's here. Yeah. So let's talk about var now. Now var, also called the local variable type inference. It's LVTI. So it's easy to remember the short form than long form. It's LVTI, local variable type inference. Now the thing is, let me remove everything. That was a switch expression. Now what happened is in Java, oh, I don't know why this happens only in the night time. Yeah, from JavaScript. Yeah, from JavaScript. So basically, let's say, I don't know how many of you know buffered reader in Java. Anyone? So basically, if you want to take an input from the user, what you do is you use scanner, right? So if you want to take a user input, we use scanner. But apart from scanner, we have one more way, which is buffered reader. So what you do is you say buffered reader. I will not explain the code, but then let me show you how buffer reader works, or the code for it. So we'll say buffer reader br equal to new buffered reader, but buffered reader needs in the object of input stream reader. We'll say reader equal to new input stream reader, and then in bracket you have to pass from where you're getting the input. So you have to say system dot in. I think that's the syntax, and then you have to pass it here. So basically, when we use buffer reader, this is a syntax which we follow, right? Now what happens is when you read, or let's say if you take the input and if you want to put that in array list, what you will do is you say array list of string, and then you say names is equal to new array list, and then you say names dot add. You use buffered reader dot read line, and then you say names dot add br dot read line. So I'm adding two elements, and then I'm putting that in a list, right? And then I want to print the list at the end. So I will say sys out names. Yeah, it also takes file reader object, but since I want to take the input from the user, so I'm using this. Okay, so if you run this code, it will wait for the input, right? So if it is waiting for the input, let me say Naveen, and let me say my AI robot Harsh. Enter. You can see we got Naveen and Harsh here. As simple as that, right? Now the thing is, this code is actually very simple for someone who have learned Java, who has worked with buffer reader, and for them it looks cool. You know, they are happy with this syntax. Okay, but the problem is, it is not that readable for people who are not from Java background, or maybe for someone who want to do fast reading. See, in most of the companies, what I have seen is we have a cross-functional teams, right? There are multiple projects going on, and in one project you have people who knows different technologies. Like maybe if you're making a front end, they know JavaScript. Someone is working in the back end, they know Java. Someone is working with the testing. So we have a team which knows different technologies. And then they should be able to replace their work as well. I don't know how many of you know about this. We have talked about a Tshape Developer. Have you heard about this word, Tshape Developer? If not, I have created a video on YouTube called Tshape Developer, and Harsh will help you with that. Already done. So there's a concept called Tshape Developer, which means if you are working in a team where someone is a tester, someone is a front-end developer, someone is a back-end developer, and if you are a back-end developer, it's not like you should not be knowing testing and front-end. So that is T, right? So you should be master of what you know, and then you should be jack of all the other technologies. So if a JavaScript developer is looking at your code, they will find it very difficult to understand, or it is not difficult, but then it is not that readable. So they want to do fast reading of a code. There's a concept of code reviews. So someone else will be reviewing your code, and also after a week when you see your own code, there is a famous quote, a funny quote, which is when you write a code, only you and God knows what you're doing. After a week, only God knows what you did. Because when you look at your code, you are confused what code I have written, right? So to make your reading more easy, they have introduced something called var. So what you do is, when you are creating something like this, when you know that the type of the object is mentioned here, the type is of type input stream reader, then why to mention on the left hand side? We can simply say var. Same goes here, var, same goes here, var, without string, of course. Now, if you want to read this, which looks better, the earlier syntax or this syntax? I'm sure I know the answer. People who are working in Java for a long time, they will say the initial one was better because it proves that this is a Java language. But for someone who are new to Java or they know bit of Java and they are from other languages, they will find this one bit easier to read. Because see, sometimes we don't want to understand what type of variables we are creating. What we want to understand is what variables we have. We have a reader, we have buffer reader, we have a name. Yeah. Now this looks like a dynamic typing because in other languages it supports dynamic types, right? So you can have example. Let's say if you create a variable called num, and initially if the num is integer, later on you can assign num to different type. Let's say string, right? It works in other languages. In Java, unfortunately or fortunately, it doesn't work in that way. Now, if you are thinking, example, let's say if you can also do this with a variable, right? Normal variables, primitive variables. Let's say var num is equal to 9. Now you might be thinking, okay, we have not specified the type to it, right? So what's the type of this num? Yeah. So the thing is, in other languages, this num is a dynamic. It's a variable which supports any type of data, and which makes them a dynamically typed language. In Java, this num is still an integer. This is a statically typed language. Now you will say, okay, we have not mentioned any type here, right? See, what happens is, it is compulsory for you to mention the value. Example, if you don't mention the value, it will give you error. It will say, cannot infer type var or variable without initializer. It is compulsory for you to assign the value. And the moment you assign the value, it knows that you're talking about integer. So this num is a type integer. This is still a statically typed language. Yeah, this is one of the best way to stay in a company so that they will not fire you is write messy code, right? The code which only you understand. Yeah, that's right. So if you are using var, it's compulsory for you to declare initialize the value. The same thing is happening here. This reader is not type. It's not dynamic. It's basically you're passing an object of input to reader. That's what it refers to. And this is not something new to Java, right? So when we use lambda expression, if you remember, in lambda, basically whenever you pass variables in the brackets, you don't mention the type of it, right? So that is inferred. So same goes here. This is also type inference. Now, can I use this var as as an instance variable? Unfortunately, you cannot, because the name itself says local variable type inference. It means it only works with local variables. If you try it here, let's say var abc, your compiler will give you some bad words. Your compiler will say cannot resolve a symbol var. And the only thing is, before var was introduced, you could have used var as a identifier. Example, you could have created a variable called var, or you could have created a class called var. So something like var. But then it will not work now because var becomes a keyword in Java. Yeah, so remember this thing. So again, this is a new update. We can use var now. I think it came in Java 10. Yeah. Okay, what if you want to, okay, good question. What if you want to have a float type, right? Example, var the value of pi is equal to, I want to have 3.14, but that becomes a double, right? What if you mention f here? That becomes float. No, the speed is not reducing because all this inference will be happening at compile time, right? It is not affecting runtime. So the speed of the languages is depend upon what is happening at the runtime, not at the compile time. Does it make sense, everyone? So we have talked about var, we have talked about switch expression. Now let's go for the next one. So what we'll do is we'll try to first complete this too, because anyway we can't run this because in this machine, what I have is, how do I get the terminal? Hey, what's wrong? uh, this is what happens when you switch between different IDEs. Okay, terminal is here. So let's say if I want to check my Java version here. So this is Java 17. So I can't basically use, I can use text block, but I can't use the string template. Can I use this concept in the companies? Of course, if your product lead allows it. Okay. So what I will do now is we have talked about var. Now let's move towards the string block or text block. So let's say if you have a string here, and let's say this is your HTML data. So I will say my HTML data, and then you want to write some tags. Okay, so what type of tags I want to write? How do I write this in a string? So HTML, then okay, I forgot this syntax for HTML. Good job, Navin. Good job. Not a big fan of HTML, by the way. Okay, so if you want to write this, I can just simply copy this. How do I mention it here? So we can put a double quotes and we can say paste. Now this is how basically if you want to write things in multiple lines, this is how you have to write. Okay. Now I simply pasted it. My IntelliJ idea is so smart that it has created this syntax. So basically what you do is you create a string, and then if you want to write this on a new line, you simply say plus, so that it is not cluttered on one line. Of course, you can write in one line as well, but this looks much simpler, right? To read, right? And then you can just print this. I can say this out HTML data. Yeah, multi-line string. And you can see we got the output. Now this is something we were using earlier. To simplify this, we have a new syntax. What I will do is I will just simply comment this. I will say string HTML data is equal to. Now, if you want to write the same thing, what you can do is you can put a triple quotes. I know that's looks weird. I don't know why Java people want to make things easy, but then on the same hand, they are making it difficult. So we have to use 3 double quotes. That's how you define a text block. And in this, you can write the same thing now. So you can just copy this and paste. So this is how you can write. Now this looks much cleaner compared to this one, right? Run, and you can see you got the same output. So this is basically your text block. And this concept came in Java 15 as a standard one. Is this making sense? Okay, this feels illegal in Java, right? Yeah, actually. Yeah, like comment in Python. Is it okay? I think in Python we use hash, right? Okay. Oh, it's been a long time I worked on Python, so. In every string, yeah, you can actually use it for single line as well. But then you're wasting extra lines just to write a single line. If you want a perfect data like this, this will be very helpful in Java when you want to pass a JSON data. So if you want to show a JSON data in the output, this triple quotes will make much more sense. Representing JSON data, representing multi lines of code. What if you want to print a paragraph? or something like this. My name is Naveen Reddy. I love Java. I hate what? I hate new Java. Not exactly. Let's say I love Java, and let's run this. So if you want to print something in a multi-line as a paragraph, you can do this. Okay. Now I want to tell you. Okay, let's talk about string template. Now what happened is, let's say let's do a very simple code here. What I will do is I will just remove this. And let's say I will have int I is equal to 9 and int j is equal to 8. Now in Java we do that, right? So if you are learning a language, that's how you start with. You want to add two numbers and you want to print it. You want to print in a formatting format, right? Which is 9 plus 8 is 17. So what you do is you say sys out, and then okay, if I want to print I plus j is equal to I plus j. But then if you print this, it will print the characters, right? I want to print the numbers of it. So one of the ways you need to put this variables outside. So you need to, okay, now you have to put double quotes here, which is plus I want to print. Then for concatenation, we have to use plus. Okay, this is a real pain now, what I'm doing. Plus j should be a variable. Then I want to print equal to, that should be in double quotes. In fact, there should be a space and then double quotes, then plus, and then this should be in the round brackets. You know the pain, right? Let's run this, and you can see we got the data. Okay, one of the way to solve this is formatters. I can see a lot of answers there. So you can use formatted print, which is printf, or you can use some string formatters. Even that works. But then, if you are doing string interpolation, there are a lot of issues there, right? Issues like we have injection attacks. Example in database connections, when we fire a query, if you're using a statement and when you pass the query and the input is coming from the user, they can do SQL injection. To stop it, what we do is instead of using statement, we use prepared statement, right? To stop the attacks. In the same way, if you're using a string interpolation, it might create those issues. And that's why they introduce something called a string template. So if you want to do the same thing, what you can do is, of course, the syntax will not work here, but you can say str. That's the new thing they have introduced, str. Dot. You can put a double quotes here. And if you want to print the value of I, you will use a backslash. That's the only thing I hate about the new one. And you can put that I here. You can say plus. Again, a backslash. You have to say j equal to. And then in the curly brackets, you have to say I plus j. And you got this. So this is a new syntax which will not work. If you try this, okay, you can see we got an error. It says illegal escape character. Right? But then it works in Java 21. So this is basically your string template which they have introduced. Now, why it stops the injection is because we are using something called str here. Now, str is not a simple thing. It is basically your, what do you call? It is your processor, string processor. Right. So it checks for the validity of the syntax, and it performs all the checking, and then it tries to interpolate the values there. So this is a new thing which is coming up. Okay, now with this, what we can do is, I want to know from you, because see, we started all this with a different theme in mind, right? Of course, we have to talk about these updates as well. We have talked about this too. We have talked about this too. These two are still remaining, so we'll talk about it. But I want to know one thing. When I started this 10-day challenge, again, it was just for fun, just to engage you people, just to motivate you so that you can start coding again, start doing things. But the way I'm seeing the post on LinkedIn, people are making YouTube videos, and the excitement you are showing here, it looks awesome. Okay. And every time I see an article on LinkedIn, when I try to read it, it gives me so much of happiness, is because one thing I realize in my life is having a knowledge is important, but sometimes you have to also showcase your knowledge. And one way you can do that is by being active on LinkedIn, being active on Twitter, create content. Creating is one of the most important thing nowadays, right? It's not just about creating videos, it's about creating content. It can be on any platform. Okay, I'm not talking about taking selfies and posting it. I'm talking about creating content, helping others, right? And I'm seeing that a lot on LinkedIn. And one thing is for sure, people who are writing the articles, they are, so you get that dopamine, right? Once you write the article, once you publish it, it gives you a different type of uh, energy, a different feeling. And also you're like getting exposed on the LinkedIn, right? So you might be getting new connections, people are coming to your profile. I want to actually know how much it is helping. So what you can do is, if you think this type of challenges helps, take your phone, record yourself, and let me know. Okay, send me your videos privately. I will not share with anyone, don't worry. I mean, if you want, I can share on different platforms, but by default, when you send me the videos, I will not share with anyone. So you can send me your video in a LinkedIn message or Instagram reel, even that works. If you want to make it private, unlisted, that's your choice. Or maybe a YouTube video unlisted. I want to know how much importance, or how much important is the thing which we are doing. Is it really making an impact? Oh, is it really? Oh, job done then. It has helped me to get the interview calls. Oh, that's great. My day three article got 12,000 impressions. That's more than my YouTube videos or YouTube views. Cool. A small achievement today in my LinkedIn, I successfully made 500 connections. Good job. Okay, so if you can do that, it will be very helpful for me to get motivated more, and to do this type of sessions more. Okay, on that note, let's take a break for 2 minutes, and then we'll complete the sealed class and regal class. So I will be back in 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Can I do those assignments now? Yes, you can. It's just that you will not be part of the contest, the MacBook contest. But yeah, for your learning, you can do that. And actually, I've got motivated from this type of contest. If I can motivate people but just by giving MacBook, I will do that every few months. That's my dopamine. Every time I see this type of comments where it is helping you. Cool. Okay, so now let's talk about the next two things, sealed classes and regular classes, and then we can end the session. So what I will do is, let's go back to a situation. What I will do is I will remove everything here, clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. Okay, and then let's create some classes. So basically what happens, in Java, we have two interesting concepts. One is abstract class. Now, we have a concept of abstract class. Now, when we talk about abstract class are meant to be inherited, right? I mean, of course, in the OOPS concept, when you say you have a concept of inheritance, basically abstract class are meant to be inherited. I want to know from you, you people, why do you think abstract class are meant to be inherited? Okay, Praveen says, I got a bigger gift than MacBook. Was that, Praveen? Is it the learnings? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, when you talk about abstract class, we cannot instantiate abstract class, right? We can only create a reference of it. Yeah. So we have a concept of abstract class, and then it is meant for the inheritance, right? On the other hand, we have the opposite of abstract class, which is final. Now, in final, when you make a class final, you can't inherit it, right? Example, let's say if I create a class here, let's say class A, and if I make this class A as final, then no other class in the world, even if I create a class B here, this B class cannot inherit A. Example, if I try to extend A here, this will not work. Yeah. So you can see class B extends A will not work is because A is a final class. So what if, and okay, this is one concept, right? And let's create another scenario here. Let me remove final. There is also a concept called easy, right? Now, when we talk about inheritance, we have one very interesting concept in inheritance, which is you get all the features of a superclass in the subclass, right? So one of the advantages why we use inheritance is to get all the features of a superclass. But the problem is, the moment you inherited a class, you normally say it's a is-a relationship, right? So when you create an object, it is a has-a, but when you inherit, that is is-a. Now let's say, if I have a class here, and the class name is vehicle. Can I use anything else? Let's say vehicle. And vehicle has a method called run or go. Okay. And then it says going. Okay, I know that's not a good way, but let's say it says go. Yeah. And now let's say we have a class called a person. And now let's say I want the person class to have a go method. What is your suggestion? Let me repeat my question. If I have a vehicle class which has a go method which says going, Okay. AN says, why it is returned features in video title? Hey, there's a spelling mistake in the title for the video. There's a spelling mistake. Hush. Spelling mistake in features. The video title. So your AI bot made mistakes. AI cannot replace jobs. Okay. So what the first thing which comes to your mind is inheritance, right? So you will say person extends vehicle, right? Now this is inheritance. It also means it is person. Can I write this? Person is a it's a vehicle. Is it a right statement? Of course not, right? Person is not a vehicle. Now person, if you want to use Go, one thing you can do, a person can have the object of vehicle. So we can make it as a has a. So when you create an application, you design certain things, right? When you learn coding languages, so when you learn a language, you normally try to, if the moment you say you have a class, it has some methods, and if you want to get a new class which will have the same features, you can simply, you inherit it, right? But that's not how you build applications. When you build applications like big applications, even before you write a single line of code, you design your classes, right? You specify, okay, I have this number of classes, and then this class will have an object of this class will inherit this class. It should perfectly make sense. It should be like a flow. Every class name, every class relationship to other class should make sense. Here it is not making sense, right? I mean, this is not making sense. Yeah, this is composition which makes sense, right? So designing is very important, right? Okay, so let's say if I have decided that the vehicle class should not be extended by any other class, because any class can extend it and any class will have Go, right? So what we can do is we can make this as a final. But the problem with final is no other class in the world can be able to extend it. What if in future I have a class here, or maybe in the project we have a class and the class name is car, okay? Now, extending vehicle will make much more sense, right? Of course, person should not be allowed, but car should be allowed. Even the bike should be allowed. So a bike extends vehicle, this should be allowed. So what if you want to give this power that only few classes should be able to extend your class? So of course you don't want anyone to extend it and you don't want no one to extend it. You want to give that partial restriction feature. And that's where what you can do is instead of using final in Java, okay, I forgot the version number, but in Java we got a new thing called sealed class. So what do you do with sealed classes? You mention which classes are allowed to use this particular vehicle as an inheritance. So you can say I'm allowing two classes, which is car and bike, which is this. Permits class car and bike. So you mentioned that you are allowing car and bike to extend it. The only problem now is if you are saying that the car is extending vehicle which is a sealed class, the class car need to be final, then only it will work, or it need to be non-sealed. I mean, it can be sealed. Then again, no one can extend car class now, or it can be non-sealed. So you have these options. So it can be final, no one can extend it. Sealed, then you can give permits here as well for the car, or it can be non-sealed. Non-sealed means anyone can extend it. Okay, so this is not about a feature. So when I made the video on sealed class, there were some comments mentioning, it is not useful. But then you have to think about designers. When you design the applications on paper, you want to restrict that this class can be extended by only few classes, not every class. Is this making sense, everyone? Okay. So this was the concept of sealed class. Now, since we have already done a lot of time, we have taken, it's almost 10:10. So let's try to finish it up. This is sealed class. This is something which we got. The next concept we have is record classes. Let's talk about record fast and then we can end the session. Okay, so what we are going to do now is let's talk about record classes. Now see, whenever you talk about application, in fact, if you remember, when we created a project in Spring MVC, we have seen different layers, right? We had a database layer, which connects to database. Then we have a service layer. Then we have the controller, and then controller sends the data to the client. Now, between all these layers, you pass data, isn't it? From the repo layer, you pass data to the service. From service, it goes to the controller. From controller, it goes to the user in a JSON format. Now, how do you represent that data? Of course, in Java, you have to represent data in an object format. Now, these classes, which carries data, we call them as the carrier classes. So they carry data. So we say it is carrier object or carrier class. So let's say I have a class here, and this class is alien, okay? And we all are aliens. We have two things in common. We have a name and age. So let's say I have two variables here, private int age and private string name. So we got these two variables. And now, if you want to use it, first of all, they are private variables. And I don't want to change those data. I just want to get data from it. Okay, so when you have a class where you only want to get data, you don't want to set data, what you can do is you need certain things. First of all, when you create object of this, example, let's say, if I want to create object of alien here, I will say obj1 equal to new alien. Even if I create the object, how will I assign the value to it? If I want to assign the value, I can pass in a constructor. So I can say age is, let's say 33, and name is Naveen. Right, I want to pass this. Yeah, that's right. So we also call them as data transfer objects, DTO, right? So what we can do is we need a constructor which takes the constructor which takes both the parameters, right? Apart from this, we also need getters and setters, because if you want to get one particular element, so you will say generate not setters, getters, because when you're using data transfer object, you just need to get data. You don't want to set data. Setting data will be done with the help of constructor, and this is this kind of immutable data which you get. So it is immutable object because once it is created, you can't change it. There's no setters here. Now, once you got getters for both, we also need something called a toString. What if you want to print it? Example, let's say if I come back here and if I want to print the obj1, and if I run this code, you can say it will print something weird, class name and some hash code. What I want to do is I want to print data. So you can right click, you can say generate. I want to generate a toString. So now with the help of toString, basically what you get is the data itself. You will not get hash code, you will get the data. We got it. Next thing which we want here is, now since these are immutable data, I want the two objects. Let's say if we have two objects here, and both the objects have the same data. Of course, there are two different objects because we are using new keyword. But if I say obj1 equals obj2, what it will print? Run, and you can see we got false. Even if they have the same data, you are getting false. It's because it is comparing some certain other things. It is comparing hash code and other stuff. Now, if you want that two objects, if they are same, and if they want, and if you compare them, it should say true, even if they are two different objects. For that, you need to implement two more methods, equals and hash code. Yeah, Java 7. create. And you can see we have implemented two more methods. One is equals to compare the objects and to generate the hash code, right? And now if you run this, you can see you got true. So basically when you have these two methods, it will check the data, not the object location or something. It looks for the data. And see, if you want to create a simple object, a data carrying object or data transfer object, you need to write so many things here. Okay, you can count the number of lines we have. Now this can be solved only with one thing. Let me comment the entire section here. Now how do we create it? It's very simple. Yeah, so how do we create this? So we want to create an alien, right? Now if you want to create alien, instead of creating a class, instead of using a class keyword, say record keyword, and in the round bracket, now this is, yeah, I know from the start itself, you're comparing Java with Kotlin now because all the new features are mostly inspired by Kotlin. So Kotlin got inspired from Java. Now it's Java turns to get inspired by Kotlin. So yeah, and I love both the languages. Okay, so what you do is in the bracket, you say int age, and then you say string name. That's it. This 2 lines of code is equal to all the lines of code you have here. So this is record classes. See, the idea of this session was not to teach you all the concepts. The idea was to show you that Java is upgrading itself. Right, and I'm sure in next 1 or 2 years, it will have a lot of features which all the other languages provides. Is this making sense, everyone? So with this, we have done all these concepts here. We have talked about switch expression, var, sealed classes, record classes, text block, and string template. Okay, now what is the assignment? So basically the project, in the MVC project which we have done for the product, switch, yeah. So the MVC project which we have done, the Spring MVC, implement all these features which we have learned today. You can skip switch because I don't think it will be used. Use var, use sealed class. I think sealed class will not be also used. Use record for data transfer object like product. Use text block if you want to print something before you run the execution. String template will not work. So you can skip this too. So what you can use is this. Use var in your project. Use record and use text block. Okay, how many of you want a difficult assignment for next 2 days? Because tomorrow we don't have live. I will directly go live on 1st now, 1st of June or 31st of June. Maybe we can do one more live on 31st, right? And then 1st. So on 1st, I will announce the winner for MacBook. Okay, if you want a difficult assignment, let me give you a difficult assignment. Okay, and then Praveen has already done this assignment. Let's see who can beat him. So basically we have to build a quiz app. Okay, now this quiz is very simple. Okay, this quiz app is very simple. You need to first create a UI first. Okay, a simple UI will do. You don't need to go through all the React stuff. You can create a simple UI. It will have two screens, one for admin. Admin should be able to add questions, remove questions. In fact, all the CRUD operations. So CRUD with questions. Next, it will have normal users. In fact, admin should be also able to create quiz. So when I say admin can do the CRUD operation, CRUD on questions, admin should be able to add questions, remove question, all those stuff. And then admin should be able to create a quiz. Now, how this quiz will be created? Basically, a question will have a question. It will be a part of MCQ. So there will be a question ID, there will be a question, there will be option 1 and option 4. So there will be 4 options. And then there will be answer, right answer. And then there will be a technology as well. So this particular question belongs to which technology? Maybe Java, .NET, PHP, blockchain, doesn't matter. Okay, so you have to create this quiz, and yeah, so when a admin says they want to get a quiz, they should accept a technology, and they need to generate 5 questions. So for a particular technology, generate 5 questions. Okay, so when I say admin, there is no login here. Okay, let me write no login. Simple, just create a UI. If a person says he's an admin, accept it. A person is an admin. Okay, so we are not checking anything. And then a user should be able to play the quiz, and the admin should be also able to verify answers. And for this, you have 2 days. So tomorrow and day after tomorrow, 31st, you have to submit. On 1st, I will announce the winner. But again, we are going to consider all your work till now. It's not only for this project. Okay, so this is a simple use case. Cool. So that's it. And one more thing, if you want to send your video, you can also send your video on our email ID. If you don't have a LinkedIn account or something, you can, of course you have a LinkedIn account, but if you're not able to send video there, so send the video on this email ID. Now ignore the previous assignment where we have to use all this. Of course, practice this, write article about this, but this is the quiz. This is a project you have to do. So let me share the problem statement here. This is actually not difficult, it's just that it's a time consuming process. So all the best. I think we are live on LinkedIn as well. Let's see what people are saying on LinkedIn. Yeah, what was the video thing? Okay, so if you missed, let's talk about the video thing. So basically, I can see a lot of people are engaging in this type of contest and then they're writing articles. If you think this type of approach towards doing live and motivating you to work on a project and sharing it on different platforms, if it has helped you in any way, make a video about it, how this type of sessions were helpful to you, and share with me. In fact, I got a lot of text, but then sometimes when you have a video, it is more promising. And I know it is not taken from the chat GPT, because you can copy text from chat GPT, right? But not the video, at least till this point. Maybe in future, you can use some tools and then you're simply staying there quiet and then automatically the video is getting created. But at least till this point, we can use the video. Cool. So thank you so much for being live even on Monday. Yeah. We need to develop this in Spring Boot and React too. See, you can choose technology. Preferred one is building this as a web application. Yeah. So Spring Boot MVC. In front end, you can use anything you want. My dream customer, what should I explain in video? How this type of sessions are helpful to you. And example, someone got interview calls because of those articles. Someone got 12,000 impressions. So that's it. See you on 31st, which is on Wednesday. Enjoy your week or enjoy your next 2 days. And all the best. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.